Okay, back after a short water break and a small cucumber break as well on the channel, Pen and Paper Chemistry. I hope you've not done away with your pen and paper and you are keeping it handy, because we are going to continue with the topic of ethers, a very, very important topic. Short but important. Isomerism in the case of ethers. By the way, those who've missed out on the first video, just in case you're joining with this one, we've already covered the structure and shape, the types of cyclic ethers, the naming of ethers in the previous video. Isomers. What are isomers? Iso means same, mer means molecule. Compounds having the same molecular formula but different arrangement of atoms in them are called as isomers. So, for example, if you compare alcohols and ethers, you will find that their structural formula is different. They differ in the structure. I've given you an alcohol here, C2H5OH, right? A formula of an alcohol, and you have to form an ether from this. Can you form an ether? Look at how many carbon atoms are there. There are 2 carbon atoms. There are 6 hydrogen atoms. There is 1 oxygen. Break it down and we have CH3OCH3, methoxymethane. Look at the number of carbon atoms here. 2 carbon, 6 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. They both have exactly the same number of atoms in them. Their formula will be C2H6O. But how do they differ? They differ in the arrangement of atoms in them. So let's look at it a little more deeper. So we have, in the case of alcohols, OH, H, here, hydrogen, 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 right? This is C2H5OH. On the other hand, CH3OCH3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hydrogen. Look at the structures. The way the atoms have been arranged are different in the 2 molecules, although they have been allotted the same quota of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Try drawing the functional isomers of C4H9OH. Go ahead. So basically you have to form an ether with this form, with this number of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atoms. How are you going to do it? Give it a try. Yes, it's about pen and paper. You want to learn, you have to write. No option. If you are just watching videos without writing, trust me, even if you watch 10 different channels, you'll be the same. But if you pick any one channel, I am not saying that you stay on this or you go on to other channel. You pick any one channel and write, or you may also actually be sincere with yourself and write what the teacher is teaching in the school. You will find that there will be a lot of learning that happens by writing alone. Not memorizing. No, I'm not telling you to memorize. Write, at least write. Okay, let's come back to the topic. Have we broken it down? So C4H9, I can write, so there are 4. So CH3, CH2, O, CH2, CH3. But that gives me 10 hydrogen atoms, right? Whereas there are 9 hydrogen. No, there's 9 plus 1, 10 over here. So 3 plus 2, 5, 3 plus 2, 5, oxygen and 4 carbon. There we go. Are there any other ethers that you can form with this? Oh, you drew another structure. Okay, tell me. CH3O, yes. So we'll have CH2, CH2, CH3. Yes, that's another possibility. But I won't classify it as a functional isomer of the first one. Of course, it's a functional isomer of the alcohol. But if I compare it to the first ether, then the 2 of them would be called as metamers, right? What are metamers? Wherein the two alkyl groups on the sides of the oxygen are different, the two alkyls. So if you notice over here, both of them have 4 carbon atoms, both of them have 10 hydrogen atoms, both of them have 1 oxygen. But where do they differ? They differ in the type of alkyl groups which are there on both the sides of the oxygen. Yes, of course, for the functional CH3, O, CH2, CH2, CH3. Yes, the two of them are functional isomers. I'm talking about the two, the alcohol and the ether. Or if you have written the functional isomer of C4H9OH as CH3, CH2, O, CH2, CH3, yes, then the two of them are functional isomers. They are differing in the functional group, right? Next, we come to the preparation of ethers. You can see this is a short topic, as I mentioned earlier, only 3 reactions to cover. So you've got the preparation from alcohols by acidic dehydration. You've got the Williamson's ether synthesis, a very, very important reaction. And from haloalkanes using dry silver oxide. Isn't it easy? You know, initially I also thought it's not going to take a long time to do these 3 reactions. So I didn't have an idea of making a mind map. But as you can clearly see, I ended up making one while compiling this video. I've gotten so used to these mind maps or flow charts, whatever you may prefer to call them. In fact, there are mind maps for alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, benzene, haloalkanes, haloarenes, Grignard's reagent, diazonium salts, alcohols and phenols all on the channel. And trust me, they are very, very helpful in giving you a bird's eye view of the entire topic when you are running short of time and you want to revise everything in one go. These are the flow charts which come in very, very handy because they are the ones which help you to see the preparation, the properties, the tests all in one place. For those who are new to the channel, let me introduce what I mean by the mind map or the flow chart. You see on the left hand side, we've written the preparation. So alcohol converted to ethers. 2 different ways of how alcohols can be converted to ethers. One is by catalytic dehydration. The reaction conditions, temperature listed, alumina and 473 Kelvin. Or acidic dehydration using concentrated H2SO4 or glacial phosphoric acid. Temperature is very, very important. You change the temperature, the product changes. Simple, that's the deal. 140 degrees Celsius, you get an ether. Alcohol reacted with concentrated H2SO4 at 170 degrees Celsius, you change the temperature and the product becomes an alkene. Don't worry, we shall be talking about the nitty-gritties of this reaction a little later. The second method of preparation, second compound from which we can prepare ethers is from haloalkanes or alkyl halides using dry silver oxide, in which case you get symmetrical ethers. By the way, the previous method from alcohols, this also gives us symmetrical ethers, which actually is not in favor of this reaction because you can prepare only symmetrical ethers by this method, just like this one. And that is where the Williamson's ether synthesis comes to our rescue and says, okay, I can help you prepare unsymmetrical ethers. So what's that method? How do we do it? We are going to talk about a little later. On the right hand side of this flow chart are the properties that you see. In these properties, what we've got is we've split the properties into 3 categories, as you can see. Reactions due to oxygen, more specifically the lone pair of electrons on this oxygen, what we call as the ethereal oxygen. The dots are looking so nice, right? Colorful flow chart. Why do you think I'm doing it with colors? Colors leave a more stronger impression on the mind. So if you close your eyes, you will remember this flow chart for its neon colors, the bright green and the yellow, the neon, right? I think that's what it's called. Okay. Now, reactions due to ethereal oxygen are two, with mineral acids and with oxygen in the presence of light. Reactions involving the breaking of C double bond O. Now these reactions are the one which we call as nucleophilic substitution reactions. Remember, so many of them that we wrote when we were doing alcohols, breaking of the CO bond. Now oxygen here is being guarded very well by these alkyl groups on the sides, right? Bodyguards. So do you think that they will easily allow a nucleophile to come and approach the oxygen or to cause the breaking of this bond? No, boss, it's not easy. And that saves us as well, because we just have 3 reactions to cover as per the curriculum. Yes, otherwise also ethers are not so reactive chemically. They're quite similar to alkanes. So reactions involving the breaking of the CO bond, we have got 3 of them to be covered, with concentrated HI, with PCl5, and the acylation reaction in the presence of acetyl chloride. The third category of reactions, that is the electrophilic substitution reactions, are very specific to aromatic ethers, but we shall be covering them under this flowchart only because, as I said, not many properties are there. So when you would have drawn your flowchart, you would have something like this in front of you. Now when you'll have something like this in front of you, I am sure we will find it pretty easy to write the preparation of ethers. So you see over here on the top left hand corner, I have placed my flow chart. Whenever I want to refer to it, I can refer to it and then go ahead and write the preparation of ethers. Why don't you do one thing? Why don't you draw this flow chart and keep it handy so that you can also refer to it in a similar way and make things easy for yourself. So, time for a chart break. See you in the next video.